So you're here because you are interested in graphing in Excel. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, be sure to watch the introduction video first. You do not need to make your graphs in Excel if you would rather do them by hand. But if you want to give it a try, you are more than welcome. It goes by faster than doing it by hand, depending on how well you know Excel. So again, if you don't know how to use Excel that well, it's okay if you don't make or use Excel to make your graphs. Alright, so here is our data set again. First of all, identify your two variables. And what I'm going to do just to make working a little bit easier is I'm going to copy my two variables into a new sheet. So I'm going to highlight these two columns, right click, select copy. I'm going to create a new tab. It's called Sheet 1 automatically. Then right click and paste. So now I have just the two columns that I'm interested in. Now your first step that will make your life a lot easier is you need to identify your X and Y axis. Now in the original video I told you that my farmers market visits is my X axis and the percent paper recycled will be my Y axis. Once you figure these out, I'm actually going to add, so I'm saying this one's X, this one's Y. Once you figure this out, set it up so that your X column is first and your Y column is second. So mine are flipped right now, so I'm going to copy, actually I'm going to cut this column and I'm going to paste it right next to it. So that now my farmers markets visits are first and my percent paper recycled is second. Now in order to make a scatter plot, first thing you should do is highlight your data. And just your data. Do not include column titles. So I'm going to start here at the 0, make sure to copy this 40, and then I'm going to go all the way down so that all of the numbers in my data set are copied. Once they are highlighted, click the Insert tab. And then in the middle you see all of these different kinds of charts. Now I'm using Microsoft Excel 2013. 2010 should look very similar, but if you have an older version, it may look a little bit different. I'm going to select this scatter plot one. It brings down a pull down menu and you want this first one. And voila, it's already created, which is really nice. But this is not ready to submit. You would lose a lot of points if you submitted just this. So the first thing, or one of the things you need to do is change the title. So by double clicking it, you can call this, farmers, markets, etc. You would write out a full title. Now you'll also need axes titles. Now this is also a good time for you to check to make sure that your two variables are on the correct axis. So you can do that by just looking at the numbers. I know percent recycled paper is going to go up to 100, and I see that here on the y-axis. On the x-axis, it only goes up to about 50, so I know it's graphed it right. Second thing that we should do is also make our axes labels. So we made sure that our axes are correct. So when you click the graph, you get these chart tools that appear. In the Design tab, you're going to go to Add Chart Element and then Axes Titles. So we have a horizontal axis, so I'm just going to click that. It pulls up a text box automatically for you to populate. Double click this. This is going to be our number of farmers market visits. Do the same thing, add chart element, go to axis title primary vertical. For your y-axis, this is going to be percent recycled paper. Now you notice this goes from 0 to 120, but we know our maximum value is 100. You could change the stretching if you want to. It's fine. For the most part, Excel automatically adjusts your axes to make it most visually pleasing. But if you did want to change these at all, if you double click these numbers, you should get something popping up on the right hand side, or depending on your version of Excel, it might be a new window that pops up. But these are your minimum and maximum, so this bound. Your minimum is 0 and currently the maximum is 120. I could change this to 100. I'm going to push enter. and it automatically resizes it for me. In this box, you can also change your units. So this is going by tens. I could change this to go by 20s if I wanted to. This minor unit doesn't really matter only because we don't have any lines. And that's one thing that you may notice on your graph is that you see these small lines in the graph but not outside the graph. What you're going to want to do is scroll down to tick marks. Major type, that's where these numbers are, that's your major tick marks. We want them on the outside. Now you can't really see them. Excel makes everything in gray, which is incredibly stupid, but it also means you need to change the coloring of that. So to change the text, just like you would change any other text, you're going to go to this Home tab and change the text color here to black. You also want to change these lines in this axis. So I have this axis labeled. For the format axis, here's those axes options again. There's your tick marks. You need to go to this paint can. This has all of the visual effects. I want to change my line. It's a solid line, and here it shows it as gray, and we don't want it gray. We want them black, so it's a lot easier to see. And now you can see that axis a lot better. You may also want to increase the font size. If you copy and paste this into Word, it's going to be very, very small. I recommend doing a font size of at least 12, and you can make this graph larger. Same with this axis title. If I just click on it, I can change the size and change the font color. Do the same thing with your other axis. So again, axis options. This case, I'm going to keep my bounds where they are, between 0 and 60. I'll leave my major tick marks at 10. I want to make sure I see these tick marks. I want to change the color of this line. We're going to make it a black line. You can see it much better now. And then I'm going to change the font and increase it in size. Same with the text. So now it's already looking a lot better. Something that's a lot more professional. You should really not have these minuscule lines in between, so I'm clicking on the lines and just pushing the delete button. You can also change these symbols, so if you just click on them, make sure multiple are being clicked. If you click on it and only one symbol is highlighted, that means it will only update that one symbol. But if you click it and quite a few get highlighted, then you know you're going to change all of them. So you either need to double click it for a new window, or depending on your version of Word, it might be here on the right hand side. You're going to click on marker, and we're in this little paint can area to change colors. So I'm going to do marker options. You can keep it exactly how it is, but if you want to play around with it, you can change them to squares. You can also make them larger, make them smaller. You can, if you click fill, you can change their color. All of that is very minor. The most important things is making sure you have your axes labels and turn everything to black and have those tick marks. This makes your graph a lot more readable, which is incredibly important. Very similar to if you were drawing your own graph. Now what you need to do, if you are doing your graphs in Excel, you need to copy these, paste these into a Word document, and then print out that Word document. So if you just highlight the entire graph, and we're going to right click it, press copy. I have a brand new Word document. I'm going to paste it. Now you may notice some color changes. What's nice about Microsoft Word is you can actually double click it, whatever you want to change, and you see these same exact options available in Word. So very, very convenient. So now I can change those markers. I'm going to actually change them just to a solid black because I'm going to be printing them out. I don't want to use color ink. I just want to use black and white ink. There's actually a small little border around these symbols. So I'm going to turn this border to no line. So there's no color around it. And there you go, you have a completed graph. And so you would need 3 of these total. So even if you kind of got lost along the way, replay that section and then also look at this final graph. This is what you're shooting for. You want your titles and all of your fonts to be 12 and larger. If you have any questions, your best bet is just Googling them. But if you're not having much luck Googling your questions about Microsoft Excel, you're more than welcome to send me an email.